All right. So today we have another episode by the NY Patriot. I have a very special guest on. He's known as Flat Earth Dave. Now I know that the Flat Earth can sound a little out there. Some people can think that that one's a little bit rough, but it's a hard one to swallow. But believe it or not, when it does come to occultism, at least in the OTO, they will reference domes and possibly even flat Earth. So as much as people may not want to have to believe that one, I'm going to have it on anyway because it is involved in some of the more secrets of secrets in occultism. So here we go. I leave you with Dave Flat Earth Dave, and maybe you can give us just a little background and how you came across all this stuff.
Yeah, I was researching all sorts of things from the occultism and the Federal Reserve and all the false flags that were going on in the world. And I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. And then people started sending me, "Hey, Dave, have you looked into the flat Earth?" And when I first got that email, I was like, "That's stupid." And I just deleted it. I'm like, "That's a joke." And then they kept coming at it and then posting links on our Facebook page and stuff. And I would ban them. I would just be like, "You're too stupid to even listen to my podcast." And and then I was forced by a researcher that I trust they said, "You got to look into this." And I started watching Mark Sargent's Clues that were coming out at the time. And I was like, all right, that's interesting, but there's no way. Everyone knows the Earth is a globe. There's no way. And then I went out to prove the Earth is a globe. And that's how you become a flat earther, because people don't realize what they even believe. I mean, you might be more educated than the average person, but the motions of the heliocentric, the globe system. I mean, do you know how fast the Earth is supposedly spinning?
Oh, it's like, I think like 1,000 miles per hour.
Very good. Most people don't know that. And then it's orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles an hour, 66,600 miles an hour. Funny number, right? And then it's chasing the sun at over 500,000 miles an hour. Some people say 660,000 miles an hour. And that entire system's moving sideways at like 1 to 2 million miles per hour, right? All of these motions are happening, and and they're not straight motions; they're curved motions. And we have like perfectly calm water. We have lakes that mirror mountains without any ripples or anything. I mean, take a dinner plate, fill it with water to the brim, and walk across the room in a straight line. Forget going in a circle, spinning, twirling, whirling, and hurling in 4 different directions at once.
Nothing flies off.
Yeah. Yeah. Water, large bodies of water at rest lay flat. That's because the Earth is stationary, does not move. Down is down for everybody. Down is not up for people in Australia. Down is down. How's that?
Yeah.
So what is the flat Earth? So here's the thing, if you Google flat Earth, you end up at the Flat Earth Society, which is a government-run disinformation site. You end up seeing pictures like of a flat disc floating in space. Flat earthers think they're a disc around all these other round planets. Nobody thinks that. If you Google, flat Earth, you'll see pictures from the Flat Earth Society of a disc, a dome disc, a regular disc, whatever, floating in space. No flat earther believes that. No flat earther believes that the Earth is rising at 9.8 meters per second to create gravity, because that's ridiculous. So what is the flat Earth? The flat Earth it's more like a pond, right? So you have the Earth plane, which is frozen, and a circling sun has melted out a pond, right? And the edge of that pond is the land that we call Antarctica, which is the highest land on Earth. It is the container of the world pond. You can't have a pond or a lake without a container. You can't have a swimming pool. An underground, a regular dug-in swimming pool has a container, and that's the Earth that's surrounding it. So Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. It is the container of the world pond, right? The Earth is, they say, is 70% water. I think it's more. And large bodies of water at rest lay flat. So that's it.
To interrupt you, but I've also noticed a lot with occult symbolism and in certain things, they do reference to ice a lot. Like ice, glaciers, and even in certain things that I've covered that we've tried to like show the occult symbolism, you will see almost a theme of ice come up a lot, which is another thing that I think might even be going into the flat Earth idea.
Yeah. So
Like that picture you just showed.
Yeah, so they talk about the ice wall. You know, the Game of Thrones has programmed everybody into believing that the little guy can piss off the end of the world off the ice wall, and that's not what the ice wall is. The ice wall is the limit of the sun's heat can no longer keep the waters from freezing, and so that's where the shoreline of Antarctica begins. You know, people say, just show me a picture of the ice wall. Well, just Google ice wall. That's something that Google will actually show you. It's just the shoreline of Antarctica. That wall is like 200 feet high in most areas, you know, give or take. It goes up and down. And the Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. You know how they always tell us if global warming happened, which isn't a man-made thing, by the way, if Antarctica melted, the oceans would rise by 200 feet or something. I'm like, how could that little island on the bottom of a ball affect the height of the ocean? How much fucking ice does it have on it? Right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. But if you understand what Antarctica is very likely bigger than all of the continents and oceans combined, right? And if there's 200 feet of ice on there and it melted, where's all that ice going to go? If all of that ice melted, it's going to go into the lower spot, which is here, and the ocean's going to rise by 200 feet or more. So I don't think that's a thing that happens, although it very well could. So that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I've always come across something to do with ice, and I definitely feel like you know, like in iPet Goat, they're showing ice, Iron Maiden, you know, just tons and tons of references to ice walls.
Yeah,
I started to think that was another tie-in with the flat Earth, you know, or getting into that.
Well,
idea.
Antarctica is where the secrets lay. You know, what's beyond Antarctica, you know, we don't know because
Well, don't we have treaties signed on that?
Yeah. So the to hide this world, they came up with, there was 6 major operations. We had Operation High Jump. It's when they discovered Antarctica, the ice wall in Antarctica, essentially. And they were exploring Antarctica. And in 1955, we had Operation Deep Freeze, where they discovered the dome, which is where the dome, I believe it terminates out in the outer lands of Antarctica. So then they quickly came up with NASA, and they created the Van Allen radiation belts to hide the firmament. And then in 1958, all the countries in the world, while they're all killing each other, decided we must protect the penguins, right? And the ice.
That was top priority during everything that was going on.
And they made a treaty in 1959 that you can't even question until the year 2041. Okay. It's 60 years and it's 62 years. And it's the only treaty in history that's never been broken. And it's still in effect today. Right. Crazy. And so they're hiding the firmament, because if we had access to Antarctica, we'd find out we don't live on a ball. And then we had Operation Fishbowl, where they were shooting bombs up at the dome, trying to break through the firmament.
And I've often wondered about that, if certain things that we thought might have been something else, if it was them actually shooting to the dome.
And then the Apollo missions to hide the firmament, like, oh, there's no firmament, we can go live on a ball. And basically all of that is a prison for your mind. It's a prison for your mind. What is beyond the shoreline of Antarctica? You know, when you go south, 60 degrees south is as far as you're allowed to go. No one is allowed to bring fuel beyond 60 degrees south, which is still like 1,000 miles or so from Antarctica. Okay. So there's no independent travel to Antarctica. If you want to go visit Antarctica, you can. There's like 15 different companies, all owned by the same company, kind of like our major media. And for $10,000 to $30,000, you can go visit this little peninsula, which is huge. And they'll show you some penguins, they'll show you some ice, they'll bring you out here, they'll show you a ceremonial South Pole. You have no idea where you are because compasses don't work, and neither does GPS in the outer southern lands. And then they kick you out. There's no independent travel out here. So what's out there? Is it a ring of ice, and then beyond it are more territory, extra territory, with another sun and a moon out here? Maybe could be. Maybe there's multiple rings, and there's other civilizations out there that we don't know about.
Well, I've even thought that myself. I'm like, we go by something that was handed to us. Like somebody's telling us this is there, that's there, this is there.
Right.
We have no idea. We just blindly accept that.
Yeah.
How do we know there isn't something on a map that we just don't know about?
Absolutely. There's more. The southern oceans are way bigger than telling you. There's uncharted areas of the ocean where GPS will steer you around them. And if you don't use the GPS, you're going to be lost. There's areas of the ocean that are just uncharted. During the when they were looking for those Malaysian flights, that Malaysian flight that disappeared, during the search, a couple of the boats disappeared for a couple of days. They're nowhere to be found. They're not on any radar. They're not on any GPS. They didn't know where they were. They went into these uncharted waters. This is the prison. They have us believing this exists when in fact it's not that. It's this. Okay. So, Captain Cook was the last person to try to circumnavigate Antarctica. It's 13,000 miles around Antarctica. And he took him 3.5 years. He went over 60,000 miles. And the reason is because he wasn't circling a little island at the bottom of a ball. He was going around the entire world.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
I know some of the other shows that you were on, you had some pretty good stuff that I think you pointed out, to state your case. There was one I was listening to recently. Unfortunately, it was on a podcast I couldn't see. I think you were talking about like flight patterns too.
Yeah, flight patterns.
About how because of the flat Earth, the way I think you were explaining it is that if you show the flat Earth, it's almost a straight line instead of all these zigzags.
Yeah, absolutely. The southern flights are when you're going in the southern hemisphere, that's where the problem comes. Example is, here's a flight from Taiwan to LA, all right? And it cuts right across near Hawaii. And there was an emergency, medical emergency. They had to land. Well, you could land right in Hawaii. It's right there. Or you can continue on. But instead, they went all the way up to Alaska, right? Also, if you're going from Perth, Australia, that would cut straight across over Hawaii, over to LA. But that's not the route that they take. When you look at the real map, here it is, Taiwan, straight down, emergency, land in Alaska. Hawaii is all the way out in the middle of the ocean. Okay. So this is a straight line. And if you're coming from Perth, you come over here to Malaysia, and then you go all the way up through Taiwan, through Alaska, all the way down to Los Angeles. There's a book that all flight routes are controlled by NASA. All GPS is controlled by NASA, the lying people at NASA. And we can get into that if you want. But
sure.
There's 16 landings that have been documented that when there's an emergency, flights have to land really quick. And if they're lying about where they are they going to land? And so they're landing in places that are ridiculous on a ball and only make sense on a flat Earth. This book alone proves that the Earth is not spinning and that it's not a globe and that it's flat. It's an amazing book. It's available on Lulu.com. It's called 16 Emergency Landings That Prove Flat Earth. Great coffee table book. Anybody that actually touches it with one finger becomes a flat earther instantly. And it's also available free online on a PDF if you just Google it.
Oh, nice. Great. Yeah. So hopefully if my listeners are interested, they could check that out.
Yep.
Yeah, why don't you go a little bit more into NASA? I was listening to last night. I think you were on like a longer podcast that I was listening to, and I think you went into NASA, and that was some pretty interesting stuff.
Well, NASA is the initials for NASA. People, it stands for not a space agency.
Oh, never a straight answer. Also,
not a space agency
for sure.
And if you look at the guys that went to the moon, why do they have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? For the astronauts?
Because they're great actors.
Because they're actronauts. They're very good. Very good. And Werner von Braun, who is the German Nazi that was a scientist that was brought over here to run NASA. Most people don't know that. On his gravestone, he has Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. It's talking about the dome. Why is a rocket scientist talking about the dome above the Earth? Right?
See, and that's interesting because Jack Parsons was a rocket guy.
Right.
And he was associated with the OTO also.
Absolutely. All of these
Yeah.
guys, it's all about it. And then Werner von Braun wrote a book in the 1950s called Project Mars. Let me try to find it. It's called Project Mars, and it was about a group of people that went to Mars. Here it is. Project Mars. They went to Mars and started a civilization. And the leader of that group, you want to take a guess at the leader's name?
Well, I know it because I heard you, but I'll let you
It's
give it up.
Elon.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I was like, oh,
What are the chances of that? And this is the rocket that Elon is planning on taking people to Mars on, and he wants to redesign it and make it pointier. Okay, so it matches exactly what's on the cover of the book, right?
that's wild.
I have this book. It's still available on Amazon, but they changed the cover recently. They took the rocket off of it.
It's coincidental, huh?
Yeah. So it'll be a Mandela effect soon.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Right?
If you look at footage from the space station, you could tell they're faking it. Like there's no right-hand turns on a zero-G plane, so they're faking it. They fade these astronauts in and out, and they become transparent.
Oh,
You can see right through them. So complete and total fakery, right? Also mockery, right? Here is the Space Command logo that Trump revealed, right? Remind you of anything? It looks exactly like Starfleet Command. This is called predictive programming.
Yep.
Right? They get you ready. Arthur C. Clarke invented satellites in a novel, and then all of a sudden we have satellites, which are also ridiculous.
You know what's funny? I can't remember if it was like a Dark Mirror show or whatever, but there was some kind of weird show that was like that, where these people were supposed to be going out to outer space to do something, and there was one dude on the ship that was going around and like checking moisture, and condensation, and he's like, "Yo, we haven't gone anywhere." And now they've been on this ship thinking that they've been out in space. He's like, I'm telling you right now,
Oh, yeah,
we're in a
I
ship
that.
and we're not going anywhere. And at the end, I think they all died except for him because he realized it was fake. And, I think they ended up using him anyway, but he was right. They never went anywhere. They believed they were out there.
Yeah.
And totally thought they were out in space, and they never went a place.
Most people believe that they're flying through space on the Earth spaceship, when in fact we are at the center of creation and that we're not moving anywhere, and everything in the sky is circling around us. That sounds crazy. That sounds self-centered, but guess what? We are at the center. We are self-centered. Chris Hadfield on the space station always loves to play his guitar, right? He's upside down, showing you that they're in space. Well, this other guy's not even in the same room, and he's holding the microphone, but he misplaces where he is, and he sticks the microphone right inside his neck. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Do you think that you could sing with a microphone stuck in your neck?
Yo, that's wild right there.
Yeah. And
that reminds me of the Biden thing recently when he's talking to the reporters, and the reporters go that the microphone's going through his hand.
Yeah. That's also very interesting. Another one is Don Pettit, the only astronaut that thinks he went to space because he's actually retarded. He was showing a cup floating, and the color from the cup separated. Right, because he was drinking coffee out of a plastic cup he made, talking about how the coffee clings to the side, but then it's separated because it's all CGI. It's all augmented reality.
That is insane.
Yeah. And people say, oh, that's because of a cosmic ray, and it caused a glitch in the rendering, those are just nice excuses. At the end of a live stream, these guys hanging from wires all of a sudden glitched out because they're in front of a green screen. Everything that was floating glitched out, and everything that wasn't floating stayed perfect.
That's wild.
It happened. They cut away to mission control, and boom, that was it. And then one of my favorites is these guys are telling this speech, and they're flipping their microphone around, they're flipping their hat around, and way in the background, way down the other side of the space station, this guy floats by to make it look more real. So it was really tiny. So I zoomed in, and you could see his harness and wires. He's hanging from a harness and wires.
That's awesome.
Clear as friggin' day. Okay. Now I often wonder, do they do this on purpose just to give us a fighting chance?
Oh, right? Yeah.
Or are they that stupid not knowing that people can zoom in and see things. And so this guy's flipping his hat around. This hat he's flipping around isn't real. It's an augmented reality object. Okay. And watch, he's going to pass it. He's supposed to, in the script, pass it to the guy in the green, and he moves his right hand. The guy thinks he's passing the hat, and he takes it and puts it away and doesn't even have it. And then the guy realizes it. And the guy in the green freaks out. You can watch his eyes. He's looking at the screens. His eyes are going all over the place.
He don't even look real. Looks like a Sims character.
Yeah, you know what they do? I wonder when they're going to start using, deep fake technology to fake these astronauts. So I don't even know who this guy is, but you should have heard their conversation afterwards. They're stumbling over the words. They're like, and it just shows that it's so fake. It's ridiculous. Here's an example of augmented reality. Look right here. There's no stuffed animal, and all of a sudden there's a stuffed animal, and now she's manipulating it, right? The ball is actually there. Do you know why the ball is floating?
No.
Because the ball is filled with helium. They have it like a balloon. You ever get a balloon, right? So the ball actually floats.
It makes perfect sense, honestly.
Yeah. So they have a perfectly balanced, helium Earth ball, and then they have this item, and it's like augmented reality. They're manipulating things, in real time, where you play with things, and then they can change it and make it look real for the viewer.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't even think that we've ever even, now in your opinion, do you think we've ever even gone to the moon at all?
The moon isn't even a place that you can go, right? And it's so easy to fool people. Have you seen this? This is from the space station.
Yeah.
Where's the Earth? Where's the land? What would you say if you were a baller?
I don't know. I don't see any.
Yeah, most of them would say, well, it's because we're over the ocean. And then we point out we're actually not over the ocean. We're in my front yard.
I was going to say that could be the ceiling.
Yeah, and it's just upside down, and with a solar panel, moving by. That's zero budget. NASA has $65 million a day for their budget, right? Insanity. And then if you look into what rockets are, this thing right here, do you know what that is?
No.
That is the external tank for the space shuttle. It's gigantic.
Okay.
It's massive, right? It weighs 40,000 pounds empty, 20 tons. Okay. And it's supposedly going to fall back to Earth and burn up in the atmosphere. Look how close it is to those clouds already. Has it started burning up yet? Does that look like it's falling? Watch right here. A piece of paper is going to blow by. Does it look like it's falling at 1,000 miles an hour? Yeah. So, and look, it has like PVC pipe going down the side. If you take a close look at it, on another shot, you'll see that this thing is not aerodynamic at all. It is moving sideways at 17,000 miles an hour right now, supposedly. It's not. It's a helium balloon.
And if that was to fall and hit the Earth, you know what kind of damage it would do?
Yeah.
It's like dropping a bomb, something that big, that high up.
Yeah. And it's supposedly going to burn up. No, that piece of paper was probably like a candy wrapper from the helicopter pilot that was filming this.
Said Snickers on it.
Yeah. This is supposedly filmed from the space shuttle, which is orbiting the Earth at 17,000 miles an hour, on their way up. Baloney. This is just baloney, right? Here's the space shuttle. Look how it's wobbling. Do you know why it's wobbling? Because it's really a bouncy house. Right? This thing is filled with hydrogen. When the space shuttle takes off, it rolls over on its back, belly up.
Yeah.
Because this is helium. It's heavier. It's lighter than this. And by the way, this isn't the space shuttle that lands. This is also a fake rocket, super light, but it's heavier than the helium part. And so the rockets on the outside are actual rockets with not as much thrust as you think, more of a light show. And then the helium balloon is taking it up, it's propelling it up, and then it just goes out over the ocean, and they pop it and it crashes in the ocean. And that's it.
Wow.
And you watch a cartoon. The astronauts are actually in a separate facility in a fake spacecraft doing all of the footage that you see from there. And then they stay in a base in Alaska until they return to Earth, where they're put on an airplane. Put on the real space shuttle airplane. The space shuttle is actually an airplane. It has jet engines in it. It's supposed to be a glider, and it lands. And you know how they always have. I don't know if you remember this. there's always two jets escorting the plane in when the space shuttle in when it's landing, because they need to disguise the engine noise. Because it has engines. The space shuttle is an airplane. It's a disguised airplane. I'm not even sure if they actually drop it from a 747 or if it actually just takes off and lands. I'm guessing it probably can take off and land on its own.
That's wild. Yeah, I've always believed that all these things were just reasons to say that they're using money for something. And they're probably doing it somewhere else.
Supposedly they get $65 million a day. I don't believe they actually get $65 million a day. That's money that they're taking from us. But NASA has an unlimited budget to do whatever they want to fool the people. And when you watch the space shuttle launch, see this fence right here and stuff. Think about this: a tornado has like a killer tornado is like 300-mile-an-hour winds, and it literally will rip cement out of the ground.
Yeah.
And that's with room temperature wind. This thing is blowing super heated, thousands and thousands of degrees out at, 20,000 miles an hour of thrust, 20,000 miles. And this fence doesn't even shake. Right?
I've thought that myself watching these things launch off. I'm like, how does it demolish?
It was up 4 million pounds and then it comes back down. 4 million pounds doesn't go up and down like that, doesn't bounce like that. Right? This is nonsense. The amount of thrust coming out of there would be insane. Right? This is a helium balloon going up. And then here's the other killer is when you watch it, if you Google space shuttle launch, you're going to get this actual video that I'm showing you. And they'll show you people on the ground, then they'll show you the space shuttle. Those people are nowhere. They make it look like they're right there watching. They're over 10 miles away. 10 miles is a long distance.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't know what you're even seeing at 10 miles away. And sometimes they leave a smoke trail and sometimes they don't. The ones that don't leave a smoke trail aren't even real rockets. But so now it's 35 miles downrange, but I round down to 20 miles an hour. And then all of a sudden the external tanks, now this thing is going like 17,000 miles an hour, give or take, right? That's Mach, 10, whatever. And the external tanks release, and you saw that burst, right? You hear the burst at the exact same time you see it release. And also, how are these things going sideways at 17,000 miles an hour? Don't you think they'd have to be a little more aerodynamic? And once they let go, they can't turn them off. Don't you think they'd shoot forward?
Yeah.
Drop their load. How are they going sideways at that? But when that happens, when that burst happens on the video, you hear it at the exact same time. Well, remember lightning, thunder and lightning?
Yeah.
You would hear it if it was only 20 miles away, 90 seconds later, if you'd hear it at all. 90 seconds. You hear it at the exact moment. It's all complete and total fakery.
It's a whole theatrical. It's whole theatrical.
It's all theater for your mind. Exactly.
Yeah, I've never believed that we ever, if we have been there, it's not in the way that we're being shown at all. I think this is all bullshit.
Yeah, you just go out when right now we're having a new moon at the time of recording this, but go out when the moon is in the day sky and look at it, and you'll see that it's right there in the sky. There's blue sky behind it. It's close. Whatever the moon that we're seeing, I don't believe the moon that we see is actually the physical moon. It's more of a projection through the dome, kind of like they.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your idea is of the moon.
Yeah, it's a focused point of light. I believe that the real moon is in what we call outer space, which I think is liquid, and the sun and the moon are within the dome, being projected into our reality. When we see the sun in the sky, everyone sees it in a spot relative to their own position.
It's funny. Now you mentioned that you said you think it's outer space and liquid, right?
Yeah.
Because there is some theories that I've come across some stuff where they even say the Great Flood from Noah, that was really just the firmament
letting the water in. You'd lower the
and it cracked, and that's what the Great Flood was.
We live in this high pressure system. Let's say it's holding the dome up. Well, the space is liquid, and then it becomes a solid, which I would call the outside of the dome. But what's holding it up? Well, you could theorize that high pressure is holding it up, right? What happens when we have low pressure?
Yeah, it comes down.
We get rain.
Yeah, yeah.
What happens when we have really low pressure, like a hurricane? We get floods of water coming in, right? So lower the pressure, the water comes in, primary water comes in.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if
And
it, have you ever seen Aleister Crowley's Stele of Revelations?
I may have,
Yeah,
remind me.
yeah, when you're done, look that up. Even now he claims that this thing, it's like a piece of art, and he claims that it shows the mysteries of mysteries and all the secrets of secrets. And in that picture, everybody, at least people in the OTO, like, the winged thing at the top, Crowley considers Hadith. And then there's this woman that stretches across from one side to the next. Her name is Nuit. Now, if you were to look at that not as being a person, you're like, wow, that's actually a dome. They call her the sky goddess, but she is touching from one end of the ground, going up in the air and coming back down just like a fucking dome.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, and even and they always talk about Saturn being like, yeah, exactly. It would look like that. What you have up, Saturn being a in occultism.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the thing that's controlling the whole structure that we're in.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever noticed that sometimes, and it's also associated with time and clocks? It's the god of time. Have you ever remembered seeing clocks in domed little discs like that? Some people will have them like as decorations on their desks. It's a clock with inside a little glass dome.
There's lots of
all that stuff goes back to that, believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds.
Look what I'm showing here. This is just a model of the flat earth, and I'm moving my iPhone light above it, and there's literally a sun floating in the middle that looks like a sun floating inside of the dome. It doesn't even film as well. When you look at it, it's like, whoa, it's like a ball of a light floating inside of the space.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of how I see how the sun is being the sun that we see is being projected through the dome.
That's what I had. There's some things that have made me believe that even too with occultism that it's more of a projection, our sun. And the same thing, I even thought the same thing with the moon. I think like you kind of correct with that. Yeah.
100%. I have a video showing the eclipse, and when you watch a total eclipse of the sun, no one, when you're waiting for the eclipse to start on a beautiful clear day, nobody has ever been able to see the actual moon. No one's been able to see the moon approaching the sun or exiting the sun. They just see the eclipse happen. Like when there's a total eclipse, the sun is completely blocked out in totality. Even then, you don't get to see the surface of the moon. Why don't we see the surface of the moon? The earth shine should be bright enough to light up the moon, like the moonshine lights up the earth at night.
Yes.
The earth shine 6 times bigger, shinier, should light up the moon. No one from the space shuttle, no one from an airplane, nobody with a telescope, infrared, nothing. No one's ever been able to see the moon. And I believe that's because the sun and the moon that we see, their light is being projected into our world. So the moon does eclipse the sun, the real sun, but the moon, whenever it eclipses the sun, is not lit up. It's a new moon. So there's nothing to project in. So the moon goes in front of the sun projector and eclipses it. And there's no light on the moon, so we don't see it being projected. That's why you never see the moon going. Did I explain that enough?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's in my app, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Let me just show you that. If you go into the frequently asked questions under eclipses, up comes videos that YouTube will not serve you. And I did the experiment with the projected sun, and it literally recreated exactly what we saw. Exactly what we saw during the eclipse. So right there, I'm showing, how the eclipse happens. That was the projector. And so there's the moon leaving the face of the sun, but you can't see the moon because it's not lit up. The sun is being projected into our world. And when I did it and it showed you could see the little projector, that's what we had filmed during an eclipse in and it showed the exact same thing. So to me, that's pretty darn good evidence that we that's how the we're seeing the sun and the moon. You there? Did I lose you?
Oh, sorry, I had my mic off. I turned it off for a second. I was vaping. Yeah, I was just saying, not unfortunately, but in secret societies or some, part of magic and in the OTO, they do have beliefs where it is like the problem with what's going on right now is the actual reflection of the sun off of the moon onto the earth. Like it's actually like almost like light being reflected onto the moon, and then whatever the moon's doing to it, when it reflects back down to us, they see that as causing problems, I guess you could say, or being the reason why we're stuck in the world we're in.
Say that again.
That the light reflecting off of the sun will reflect light off onto the moon. And like you said before, then it reflects back to us during the night, right?
Yeah. So the sun shines light on the dusty, dirty ball, if you think about the astronaut standing on the moon. And then that light travels 238,000 miles back to Earth and looks as bright as a friggin' light bulb. No, that doesn't work that way.
No, I mean, I don't buy that either, but that is like a thing in occultism where they do believe like that. Yeah, that's doing something to us.
What does occultism say? Think about the moon. I've heard stories, and theories and beliefs that the moon is responsible for the delivery and removal of souls to the earth plane.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of almost going into a little bit. Yeah, it's sending, some people believe that it, light is all just vibrational energy,
I believe it
so is sound, and all that stuff. So, who's to say that it's not kind of being hijacked by the moon, and then it does to whatever that vibrational signal is, changes it, and then reflects it back to the earth. That can have, that can do things to people and stuff. That's an idea with occultism, that the moon is kind of like changing the matrix, or it's putting us into the matrix.
Yeah, I
know it's a little wild and it would take me a long time to really present a good case, but that is one big idea, believe it or not. Yeah.
I believe it. I'm 100% in.
So now what do you think is, the big question, I guess, is why are we in? Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe that if you were to tell everybody a lie about what you think you're looking up into the sky, if everybody believed some story that isn't true, I think everything else after that is just easy to lie about.
Well, look at what's going on in the world right now. People are believing the nonsense that's going on because they're lost in space, spinning out of control, not knowing who they are, not knowing that they are the center of creation, not knowing that they have great power, and believing that there's people that can rule over them and that they have to bow down and do everything they say. The truth is that we are at the center of creation and that nobody has dominion over us. They don't want us knowing that. They want to hide the fact that your mind creates your reality. They don't want you to know that they have no power over us whatsoever other than the belief in your mind. So if you believe you're on a speck spinning out of control, asteroid could take you out. Kim Jong-un is going to use one of his fake nukes to blow us up. That we're going to run out of fucking dinosaur juice, for our cars. There's a food shortage, there's a water shortage. None of that is true.
No, it's all fear.
They can control the crap out of you. You asked me about plane routes. Did I show you a plane route yet? I showed you.
You did.
Taiwan. Here's Perth, Buenos Aires to Perth. Buenos Aires, major city. Perth, major city. Plenty of people wanting direct flights. Right over Antarctica would be the best. You could just go around Antarctica because you don't want to disturb the penguins, right? But this is the route that they really go. They go from Perth to Houston or Miami or Houston. Then they go to LA. Then they go to Sydney. Then they fly all the way over to Perth. It takes like 26 hours. Okay. Or they go from, Buenos Aires to Europe to Singapore to Perth. Why would you do that on a ball when you could just cut across the southern hemisphere? You just cut around here or go over Antarctica, right? There's no reason. The only reason is because the earth is flat and those 2 points are at the opposite ends of the earth pond.
Wow.
Here, NASA's always showing us new planets. Did you see these new exoplanets?
No, I haven't come across them. No.
Hey, what do you think?
No.
You like
I
them?
mean, it looks like art to me.
Well, it's actually the bottom of 6 frying pans. Okay.
Get the fuck out.
They're actual frying pans, frying pan planets. They're actual frying pans. But if you compare them to what NASA shows us, it's ridiculous. You know, you look at NASA, what they show us, these are all the planets that NASA shows us. But this is what they really look like when you zoom in on them with a camera, with a telescope. I mean, Saturn's kind of close, but it's a light. Saturn is a light. This is not reflecting sunlight. Saturn's farther to Mars. If you were on Saturn, if Saturn was a real place, the sun would be the size of a friggin' star. It's so far away. I mean, it'd be a large star. Okay. Yeah. It wouldn't be as big as Earth or as big as Mars, which is smaller. And that little bit of light is bouncing off back where it's bright as the sun to us, just, you know, but in star size. It's ridiculous. They all used to be called wandering stars, and now they're called planets. Plain with a little cross at the end. Yep.
Oh, there was something else you had made. Oh, you know, something I had came across. I don't know if I had heard it from you. I think somebody was even going into the whole thing about the mushroom clouds from, you know, bombs or atomic bombs.
Yeah.
Stating that it's mushrooming because it's hitting the dome or hitting the ceiling.
Well, the two different things. Well, there are some explosions in Project Fishbowl where they're bombing the firmament, where you did see these things spread out, and it looked like it was hitting a dome or a thicker layer of something. That's very possible. But as far as mushroom clouds and nuclear bombs, you're aware that nuclear bombs don't exist. Are you there?
I had often wondered if that whole thing was just fake to begin with.
It's all fake. Think about this. When people, the immediate response is, what about Hiroshima and Nagasaki? After Hiroshima and Nagasaki, one guy, I don't know his name, was the only one in the entire world that was allowed to take pictures and report on it for the Associated Press or whatever news service there was. And anyone else that took a picture or did any reporting was jailed. So, trying to control some information. 3 days after the bombs, the trains were running, the sandwich shops were open, they were selling flowers on the street, and people were back to work. Does that sound like a nuclear holocaust?
Holy crap. No, not at all.
Yeah. And plants, people, animals have thrived and always have and always will in Japan. We have more cancer in the United States here than they have there. So
they took stricter precautions for COVID.
Yeah.
And then they did for nuclear blast over there.
The whole thing is complete and total nonsense. And speaking of COVID, they're controlling our minds with cartoons.
Oh,
yes. Don't say too much. I don't want you to get deleted.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of things I've kind of stayed away from because I don't want that issue. Yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to go into? I don't want to, miss.
I mean, there's so much, but I think we can wrap it up. There's so much more, but here's the thing: if you Google flat Earth, you're going to get fed propaganda. They're trying to gatekeep your mind. This is the biggest, most important secret that they have, because when people wake up to this, they take their power back, and they can't have that. They don't want people knowing who they are. They're trying to keep us as slaves. They're literally wiping out the middle class right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all so the controllers, they want to rule the world. Sounds crazy, sounds like a soap opera, but
I believe it.
It's actually, what's going on. And they know that this world, mysticism or, whatever, what's the word you would use? They know the spells of this world.
Yeah. The secrets and the mysteries. Yeah.
Yeah. So they know how this world works. They don't want you to know it. They don't want you to know how powerful your thoughts are. Everyone that's listening, look at your life. It's exactly what you've thought it to be. You created that yourself. No matter where you are, you created it with your thoughts. So
that's awesome that you said that, because that's the biggest thing with occultism too. I mean, just with controlling other people is knowing that you can really determine your life.
Right. All the agencies,
when you make people think they can't, they're your slave.
Right. All the agencies that run the world use the flat Earth map in their logo. Find that fascinating. So getting back to what I was saying, if you want to learn about flat Earth, they've made it very difficult. And it's probably going to get more difficult, but I've created an app called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It's the highest rated, most loved app in the App Store and Google Play. Check it out. It's $2.99. It will you could research flat Earth for 500 hours if you had the fortitude. You'd probably find 2 hours worth of good stuff. The rest would be propaganda, nonsense, stuff to capture weak minds and go, oh, I don't have to look in flat Earth anymore because, you know, Byman Dan made a snarky comment, or, you know, Professor Dave, who's not a professor, said this, or Bill Nye, the line guy with the bow tie, said boats go over a curve, you know. And, you know, if the Earth was a ball, yes, boats would go over a curve, but they also disappear from the bottom up for other reasons. So the app will take you to it. And I'm offering this. I have a Bitcoin challenge. Watch the daily video every day for 2 weeks. And if you think the Earth is a globe and can send me one proof of the globe, not 10, one, I'll give you a Bitcoin.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You want to plug any more of your own stuff? Any more links, how they can find you? No?
If you're looking at this on a computer, you can just scan the barcode. But the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, it's by Blue Water Bay. Don't get the free one that's on, you know, but it's made by the Globers on Google Play, and send me an email saying my app sucks, because that's not my app. Right? And my podcast, my Facebook page, my Instagram page, and my website are the Flat Earth Podcast, the flatearthpodcast.com for the website, the Flat Earth Podcast. All the links to the app are there and everything else. And my YouTube channel, which has all short, good, solid videos. Most of them are under 3 minutes. It's DITRH, the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, DITRH. Check it out. And once you see this is your red pill moment, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to waste it, or are you actually going to put your feet solid on the ground and take control of your life?
Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said before, as much as people may not want to hear it, or as much as I even hate to admit it, people who think that they might be controlling us do believe in this too. You know, I could highly say, at least in the OTO, they by far do believe in a dome in some sort of flat Earth. So people with in positions of power do believe it also. Just leave it like that.
Believe, as Crow 777 says, belief is the enemy of knowing. It's easy to believe. Knowing takes time, effort, and critical thought.
Exactly. All right. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. Maybe I'll have you come on another time to get a little bit more deeper.
Okay.
Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on. And I guess until the next one, everybody do well. And please check out this guy's stuff. If you like it, please subscribe, repost this stuff, and get it out there. And everyone have a great day.
All right. Thanks.